Hi everybody. I want to talk to you about written offers today. You've read in the book many things about them, but I want to talk to you about the laws that pertain to Kentucky about these written offers. It is our job to submit all written offers without delay and not when it is convenient for us. We help our customers and clients with offers and needed commitment. We do not present contracts when it's just convenient for us. We help our customers or clients with offers, and if needed, we counter offers for them and help them understand what a counter offer means. We have to answer all the questions that our customers or clients have for us. It is not a real offer to purchase contract until it is an agreement by all parties. In offers, when working with buyers, it is our duty as their agent to submit any and all written offers. They must be in writing in order to be enforceable in a court of law. Let's talk about sales contracts and what they have to have. Sales contracts have to have the purchase price, how much the deposit is, and who holds it. What who holds it means is that in some locations, the buyer's agent's salesperson will hold the contract in their broker's escrow account, and other locations it would mean that the seller's or the listing agent broker would handle those escrow deposits. In Lexington and our vicinity, we simply, as the salesperson who's selling the property, the buyer's agent, we hold that escrow account. We have to have all the names of the parties and the agent who's going to participate in this contract. We have to identify the parcel, and that means either the legal description or the street address. And in this state, any signature, any initialing has to have the date and time of signing and the expiration date of that contract. Closing and possession dates are really important. A lot of people will lose a contract by not working hard enough on getting the possession date agreed upon. I've lost several myself, so this is oftentimes overlooked. So you want to make sure your buyer or your seller's point of view is well represented in what they want to do. We also have something called the backup offer. Backup offers are when a buyer wants to purchase a house that already has an offer to purchase contract on it. There are specific clauses in our license law that has to be put into that backup offer, and it really means that the new or secondary actually buyer wants to buy the house, and if the original purchaser doesn't come through, if the sale falls through, then they have the first opportunity to buy the house. They're sort of second in line, so they're on a waiting list, if you will. So a waiting list is pretty important if you're the secondary buyer. I will say to you that most agents and most people that I know don't like backup clauses, because then until that contract has been released, they're obligated to buy it. So you want to be really careful, and I'm going to suggest that you contact an attorney before you actually do a contract that's a backup contract. Financing provisions are a critical part of all contracts. This contract that we're talking about, you have to have what kind of financing. Is it going to be conventional? Is it going to be all cash? Is it going to be 10% down, 90% down? The amount of encumbrance, which means that's how much you're going to owe, how much you're going to borrow. If it's a $150,000 property, are you going to borrow $100,000, $125,000? That's all part of the contract, and you have to be exact about that. And when it says who's going to underwrite the loan, what they're talking about, is it going to be an FHA underwritten loan, a Veterans Administration? Is it going to be conventional? Can it be a Kentucky housing loan? There are all kinds of different financing provisions, but the offer to purchase contract must be explicit in what's going to happen. So how do we decide if someone is going to know that the contract has been accepted? Well, there's always been some sort of question about what the timing is. So the Real Estate Commission has said that we may use a fax device to send and receive documents, but if we do that, a copy of the fax document has to be immediately mailed, and the time of transmission will be considered the time of delivery. For example, if I fax you something and my clock says 11:35 p.m., that's the delivery time. That means the contract has been accepted. And at that point, I wanted to tell you that you could not withdraw from that contract, even if your other party has not received their copy of the fax contract. So the statute of frauds is really important because you must put all offer to purchase contracts in writing. And if there's a lease for longer than a year, it also must be in writing. But let's talk about the writing of an offer. So after we've gotten an executory contract, that means that we received an offer, both the buyer and the seller have agreed to all the terms of the offer, and that they are what we call in an executory contract, which means it's a work in progress. So we've worked, we've had an appraisal, we've had financing, and let's just say the financing has fallen through. So that may be a reason to end the contract. There are lots of ways for contracts to end. One is the completion. That becomes an executed contract. That means we've agreed, we've performed all the duties, we've been to the closing, it's a done deal, the property's been transferred. Now sometimes contracts end because of a partial performance. Partial performance means it's enough to end it, and that there's enough work already being done and there might be something minor. A substantial performance, is something minor remains to be done. For example, they haven't put the doorknobs on. You have an old construction doorknob, but you haven't put the really pretty one, the one your wife really wanted or your husband insisted that you get. So at that point, they can force the sale, and you must pay the contractor or the seller the money that you've offered. Now, if in fact there are a few things that haven't been done, they may require that the price be reduced by the amount it would take to complete those items. The impossibility of performance means this. It's an act that's required that cannot be legally fulfilled. If it's an illegal act, it won't matter whether they can or they can't, the contract won't be able to be fulfilled. And if the property is destroyed, there's a fire, there's a tornado, there's whatever, the contract is null and void. If you don't have a piece of property, you certainly can't close on it. And then there's always the operation of law, which means if there should be a bankruptcy or a statute of limitation comes and the property hasn't been closed, if there's a fraudulent alteration of the contract, for example, I had a student a long time ago said that her parents had come to town and purchased a property for her, but they were going to have the builder build this lot. So they chose a lot. The builder was going to build the house on that lot, and lo and behold, the builder or someone had made a mistake and that lot had already been sold. So they just, okay, I'll just change the lot. Unfortunately, they didn't get the approval of the parents for the approval of that lot change. So the contract was considered null and void at that point. The other most effective way is a mutual agreement to just disagree. So we're not going to come to terms. We're not going to be able to fulfill all the requirements of this contract. So we're just both going to agree to release each other. There are many, many more things that we could talk about with contracts, but right now I want to remind you that I have put a copy of this offer to purchase contract, a link to that, and I would like for you to review it. This is the one that we've been using in the Lexington area for many years. We are about to go through some changes, but it's just an example of those contracts that people use throughout the state. There is no specific contract used by everyone, but please review that and think of the things that I've told you about what the contract needs. See if you can find the spaces to put those financial terms, to put those deadlines, those possession dates, those closing dates. And listen, don't forget you have to put who the agent is and who the buyer is and the seller is. Look where they have to sign them. Look where they have to initial them. And remember, all signatures, all changes have to be initialed, but they have to be given the time of the change and the date of the change. So I'll talk to you again soon, and we'll talk about listing contracts. Have a great day, everybody.